Good morning. This is Faith in Our Hometown, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin. And now, here's your host, Father Jay Friedel.
You know, sometimes our attempts at doing inclusion and diversity sometimes are controversial, and we've heard about some of those in the last few weeks. But the Chamber of Commerce has really gotten ahead of this in a way that's really positive that I wanted to share with everybody and give them an opportunity to share because they've been working for several months already before all these things started to blow up on a statement and a proclamation for the city to somehow declare Joplin an area that cares about inclusion and cares about diversity. So my two guests this morning are going to be Sergio Rizo and Shonte Clay-Fulgham, both of the Joplin Chamber of Commerce's Inclusivity and Diversity Committee. And they're here today to talk about that resolution that the city has recently taken some action on. And we're going to talk a little bit about the positivity of what this does for us as a community. So we're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute. Stick around, and thanks for joining us this morning for Faith in Our Hometown.
Lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths in the U.S., and now we have an effective tool to screen for it. A low-dose CT uses a lower amount of radiation than a standard chest CT.
Breathe in.
Better detailed pictures than a chest x-ray of small abnormal areas of the lung. A person must be between 55 to 77 years old, asymptomatic, which means they don't have any symptoms such as coughing up blood, chronic cough, shortness of breath, unusual weight loss, or any other worrisome symptoms. They must also be a current smoker or have quit within the past 15 years, also must have a 30-pack year history or more, which equates to smoking 1 pack a day for 30 years, or 2 packs a day for 15 years. People generally avoid these scans possibly due to fear of what could be found. Like many other cancers, if we can detect lung cancer early, it could be very treatable and life-saving.
Well, again, we're really happy that you joined us this morning for another episode of Faith in Our Hometown. And today we're talking about the new Inclusivity and Diversity Statement that was shepherded through the process by the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce's Inclusivity and Diversity Committee. And so my guests this morning, again, Sergio Rizo and Shonte Clay-Fulgham, and they've been part of that committee. So why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourselves first, and then let's talk about this new statement that the city has gotten a chance to get behind.
Sure, I'll go first. Again, my name is Shonte. I'm born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, and I came here from initially Minnesota, where I attended school and played basketball there, and I transferred to Missouri Southern, where I actually work. I am the athletic partnership coordinator in corporate relationships for athletics. So I get out in the community and I build those networks and gain support for our department. And I found my way to the chamber through a few different networking after-hour events, Good Morning Joplin events, and I was given the opportunity to be part of Young Professionals Network in that committee, and they opened up doors to a few different groups that may fit your liking, and I thought diversity and inclusion was a good fit. So after attending a few meetings, I found a sense of belonging as we were able to open up and have those tough conversations that we love so much, and kind of break down some of those barriers. So
Yeah.
It's been an incredible gift having Shonte on the work group. She's a powerhouse, so it's good to
You should have seen her on the bat. Did you get a chance to see her on the basketball court?
I did not.
That was something. I don't like basketball, okay? I never did, but a good friend of mine was Shonte's head coach for a long time, and so I went to a lot of basketball games during those days. And she was pretty fierce on the court, so it doesn't surprise me that she gets pretty fierce about policy and things too.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us about you.
Sure. So originally also from Chicago, Illinois.
Oh wow. Two of you.
Yes. Yeah. I came down to Joplin in 1999, just after my freshman year of college. Lived here for 4 years, went to college here, then left for 3, came back for 5, left for 5, came back now for 4.
Wow.
So I consider myself as much a part of Joplin as I do anywhere else. And likewise, when we came back this last time, I was going to go into a faith-based work, and knew that I wanted to continue to maintain some of the business relationships that I had established in other places, and so got connected with the Chamber of Commerce and immediately had an opportunity to serve in the Young Professionals Network, on the executive team, and then as things have continued to grow, have had the opportunity to co-chair the Equity and Diversity and Inclusivity Work Group. So,
okay, so let's talk about the Young Professionals Group first, just for a second.
Sure.
I want to get to the diversity thing, but I mean, just explain that to folks who are watching. That like, what's a Young Professionals Network? So
yeah, absolutely. So the Young Professionals Network here in Joplin is connected with the Chamber, 40 and under, although they will allow you. They would allow you to stay, and it is a spectrum of different activities. So you'll have professional activities and you'll have recreational activities with the intent to continue to grow as a professional, make new friendships and networks, and opportunities usually come from that, and then obviously serve in our community and ensure that we can actually lead into the change that we desire.
Great. And so one of these things, and I'm really excited about this, but who came up with this idea of making a proclamation and trying to get the city to say, hey, we are a city that cares about inclusivity and diversity? Well, how'd that all come about?
Yeah.
Well, I think initially we started a few meetings, and we were kind of all new, getting to know each other, and we knew we were all from different backgrounds, so we got to know each other that way. But we immediately wanted to make an impact in our community, and not just Joplin, but those surrounding cities as well. And I can't remember exactly the person who came up with the idea of a proclamation, but we wanted to make a statement by having our city commit to something and grow that long term. So I think it is built on a lot of people's input. Again, it took about 7 or 8 months to finalize this thing. So lots of input and lots of thoughts from different backgrounds, perspectives to make this what it is. So
7 or 8 months, okay, and what is it, like 4 or 5 paragraphs, huh?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, 7 or 8 months, why did it take that long? I mean, I've got my guesses, but go ahead.
Yes, so this proclamation is thoroughly Joplin, and that's something that I have had the benefit, and really I feel the pleasure to be able to do this alongside of my fellow residents of Joplin. There are people on the work group who are left politically speaking or right politically speaking, socially left, socially right. There are religious folks, there are non-religious folks, and when you have that kind of diversity, there are people with different abilities with regard to physical abilities that have all spoken into the work group and the proclamation in particular. And it just takes time. And we wanted it to be thoroughly Joplin. We didn't want somebody else's agenda out on some coastal city or some major metropolitan area. And so everything that has come out of this has been, I think, the labor of our group saying, okay, one, if you want diversity, you have to have the ability to dialogue and disagree. Mm-hmm. So this isn't uniformity. Yeah. And in that, you have to model it. And so we had lots of dialogue and disagreement, but these were the things that we thought were principled around what we think is going to help Joplin be a better community, first of all, in particular for my 4 children. And secondly, we think it actually launches us into the future with regard to economic development and opportunities to recruit, retain, and promote the community. Like I said, I've lived here 3 times and I love it. So.
Yeah. So you just we're kind of like you're like a boomerang family for us. I like it. Okay. Yes. Well, good. So this thing just got crafted by lots of folks from this community.
Yes.
Okay. And so you came about it. Why? Why is this important? I mean, why should anybody care? Because I mean, let's face it, I don't want to not pick it on the city council or anything, but it's so often things get made, people make a proclamation, oh, that's a nice thing. But why is this important? Why should all of our viewers care about the fact that we're actually doing this?
Yeah.
I think because it serves all of us. I think it impacts everyone. Your neighbors, who knows where they came from, their backgrounds. We all say we do live in Joplin. I know I've lived here for going on 8 years now. I met my husband here. We've bought our home here. And I would think that this applies to everybody. So the idea of being a more diverse area does impact our community economically, which can go a variety of different ways, but we shop here, we eat here, we grow our families here. So I think that it impacts everybody. So we have to consider that. So that's a main reason why we're pushing for this to go through for sure.
Yeah. So how's it going to help?
So as we started this work group, first of all, it's the first of its kind for the chamber, and so
Great.
that requires a lot of effort just to start that. But we wanted a symbol. We wanted, sometimes you need to know where you want to be before you even get there. And so how does it help? It helps us say, well, this is where we're headed, right? And because the proclamation is thoroughly Joplin, it affirms that everybody here belongs. And wherever you fall with regard to your religious beliefs and convictions, with regard to your political beliefs and convictions, with regard to your orientation, these friends are already here. And if we can identify how we want to engage one another, or at least begin to say, this is the kind of community that we desire, that within the diversity, we can still have unity. And how does it help? Creativity, it's fun, you get better entertainment out of it.
Being able to grow and learn from each other. Yeah, I mean I think something that I think that maybe this community lacks a little bit is the ability to be open to who you are and being open to learn about someone else and their background. I think that would take us boundaries, and that's something that we have the opportunity to, because it does have some diversity in this area. So just being open and accepting to that.
Yeah, one of the things that I love about the community is the food. Okay, I mean, I love. I'm living right now in the most diverse parish that I've ever pastored before in my life, and so I love it when we have different parts of the parish, that are doing different things. And actually, all three parishes, for at least and so if I'm eating Guatemalan food, so Guatemalan tortillas are very different than Mexican tortillas. The Mexican tortillas are like the Guatemalan chichitos. All right, and so you kind of got to get all that stuff in your head, or the fact that I love doing Filipino baptisms because it's the only time I get Filipino food, and I've just had some phenomenal food, through the years for that reason. Or I was so thrilled. So many of my Vietnamese families ran Chinese restaurants, just basically generic Asian restaurants. But I was happy when somebody finally opened up a pho restaurant because, wow, then I can get, soup when I want it, and, it's good. So I love the diversity. I mean, I just love, having folks around to, to be able to share that with. And I love it when friends come in from out of town and they always say, what kind of food do you want? What are you in the mood for? Thai? What are you in the mood for? I mean, and we got great Thai restaurants here, I love it. So those for me are just some of the things. I mean, and for me that's a given, but I don't know that sometimes we always think about that here in our hometown.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, but I love the fact that we got all those options.
Absolutely. I say you peek down Range Line, and that's a prime example of how diverse this area is. I mean, there's a Japanese steakhouse, there's an Indonesian restaurant, there's I think Noodles and Company, and I'm not even sure what their ethnic group is, but I know it's not American. So they have the options all over. And there may be a reason why I stayed around a little longer than I planned, but they do have those options, and that I think defines Joplin.
Well, all I'm going to tell you, Shonte, is you are a lucky woman for staying around longer than just, driving into the university, getting your degree and leaving. So it's a good thing. My guests this morning, Sergio Rizo and Shonte Clay-Fulgham, both of the Joplin Chamber of Commerce's Inclusivity and Diversity Committee, work group or whatever, but they're part of the Young Professionals Network, trying to make a positive impact here in Joplin. So we're going to talk a little bit more about maybe some of those dreams and maybe how we're going to celebrate this in just right after a quick break. So we're going to break, freshen up your coffee, do your thing, but short break, we'll be right back.
You're watching Faith in Our Hometown on KSN TV, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.
So again, Shonte, Sergio, thank you for joining me this morning. It's just, I love the positivity. I love the direction that we're moving. So the City Council, has acted on this, okay, and we are moving forward. what impact do you see for the community? What do you think? What's your hopes about where this is going to take us in the next few weeks?
Yes.
How are we going to celebrate it? What are we going to do? How are we going to surge forward from this?
Certainly. First, it's just, we have to acknowledge that it's been difficult. It's been difficult for our country. It's been difficult for our city, and the city council, in particular, Mayor Stanley. This seemed like we'd been working on this for a long time. This seemed like it was time to move forward, and I thoroughly appreciate and would like them to know that I appreciate their leadership to say we also agree. And so they received the proclamation. I was able to present before City Council, and then they joined us in a silent solidarity walk afterward. And to that extent, we're grateful, because what it does is it does action. And that's what we need. We want to ensure that we are the best community we can be, and we treat people the best that we can. That's what makes Joplin so special to me. I've been loved and welcomed here, and it doesn't mean I haven't had harsh experiences or things that I would prefer me or anybody else be treated like. But those are not the norm, and as much as we can continue to kind of allow those to become less, I think it makes us better. But moving forward, I think it helps the community understand, Joplin is wanting to become more diverse. From a population perspective, we still have some room to go. So, when the Chamber of Commerce wants to recruit, a Tesla, or the Chamber of Commerce wants to say, Amazon, we'd like to be a place for you to consider. We want those friends who will come to this community to understand that they can find a place and belong as well. And so I think it does significant with regard to economic development and retention, which my hope from that would be, rising tides raise all ships. And without a doubt, the Joplin economic development portion of Joplin's community has driven the history of Joplin. And so if it is strong, the community is strong. So if we can make it stronger, then the hope is that the benefit of that flows down into all of our communities.
Yeah. Shonte, what are you dreaming about from this?
Well, I know that this coming Monday that we're doing a walk to the Fox Theater, and it has a lot of history behind it as well. And it's open to anyone participating and joining us. My hope is that there's growth from that. I think we have a long way to go, like Sergio said, but taking those steps in, and I heard someone briefly say, leaning that way is a great idea. If you're willing to just lean, you'll be surprised at what you learn, and then maybe we'll be ready to take a step as a community, as a city. Again, I have a newborn baby at home, and I have a 2.5-year-old, almost 3-year-old little girl, and I want to be able to raise them here, and they feel comfortable to go to school here and grow and learn here. So far, that's been happening, so I want that to continue moving forward. And saying for friends and family that may come in town and visit, I want them to think that this is a great place to live, and maybe join me too. So yeah.
Well, I love that imagery of leaning into. Sometimes I'd have a student who'd be, all shut down or wrapped up or tied in knots or whatever, and it's like, okay, you can't get from there to way over here in no day's time. You can't do that, 0 to 80 in no seconds. You can't do it. But even if you're having a hard time seeing yourself over there or moving that way, can you just kind of lean into it? Can you just kind of, because I think it helps get us there. Yeah. Sometimes it's just knowing somebody, or meeting someone that I've never met somebody from Costa Rica before, or whatever. How do you do that? How do you then establish that? And so, what was your life like? What was it like growing up? How can we have those conversations that then I think enrich us? I mean, and that's why I've loved being in higher ed for the last 27 years, is because that conversation is always so rich, about why we come together. Because I think there are certain things that are at the core of us that are the same. That human part, okay? Yeah. That part of us that searches for God, that part of us searches for mystery, all that. Those are all the fun, that's the fun part, and getting to know each other and rubbing elbows and doing that, because that's all we can do these days is kind of rub elbows, in this time of distancing. Rub elbows a little bit and get to know each other a little bit better. So what do you feel are some of your biggest success stories, as young professionals, and other than the proclamation and everything itself, what are some of your big success stories as young professionals here in the Joplin area? Especially coming from Chicago, both of you. So I love to visit Chicago, but I'm really glad I live here instead of there. But yeah,
I'm with you. I love Chicago. I love the visit, but I'm glad I live here.
Yeah.
I would say a couple success stories for me would be when I came back 4 years ago into the community, being able to immediately engage at a leadership level where I was learning. So the mentorship that I received through the Young Professionals Network and the opportunities. We call them ed talks, monthly educational talks that, one of our maybe more seasoned professionals in the community is sharing with us things that they've learned. So the mentorship, and almost immediately then being able to reinvest. So we have done a number of things with regard to serving. I helped create at the local college here and a public speakers forum where...
Now, which one? Which college?
So Ozark Christian College.
OCC, okay,
Yep.
All right, yeah.
And while I was there, being able to create a public speakers forum because one, it's a prerequisite for high schoolers. It's something that the college does really well with regard to public speaking, and it benefits the community. And so a couple hundred students over a few years would come onto campus for a day, and they would have a day's worth of public speaking. And what I've learned through my journey is three things that make us very successful are critical thinking, critical reading, and speaking proficiently. And so that I feel like is a success because I feel it's something that we were able to contribute back into the community because those students will take that forward with them. So that's what I've enjoyed.
Yeah.
I just learned something new about you.
There you go.
I think some of my biggest successes and they're a little bit more personal, but I went to Missouri Southern and I graduated from there and played basketball there, and to have the opportunity to go back and work there in that department has been, it's opened many doors for me that I didn't know were possible. Just being kind of a mentor for some of those athletes and having some of those experiences to share and grow and learn with. I've had the opportunity again to join the chamber and then build those networks and those relationships way more than I ever had imagined. And I think getting to know people in general is something that I really cherish, and getting to know people from different backgrounds and walks of life. That's led me to find my church home here at Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church and being a mentor for our youth ministry group there. So it's definitely taken me through some things that God has had in store for me I just didn't know yet. So that I think Joplin in general opened those doors for me. So something that I can definitely say I'm proud of is to recently becoming part of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee at Missouri Southern, and kind of being, again, leaving an impact if possible on some of those students who come from different backgrounds and allowing them to be comfortable here and have the resources here that they need, that their parents are also hoping for, and hopefully making an impact there too. So some things aren't finished yet, but they're in the works, and I'm proud to say I'm a part of them.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Those are exciting things for me. I mean, I've been here for, 15 years now, and but I came kicking and screaming, because I didn't want to move from Cape Girardeau to Joplin, but Joplin now is home, and so much of the joy that I have being part of this community is knowing all this great tapestry of humanity that I've gotten to know. And do that in some ways even a larger part of the community, because when I was at Southeast Missouri State University in Cape, I was just only on the campus. And here I'm on the campus and in the town, and just it's all and several towns, and that's just kind of the way that the whole thing's unfolded for me. But it's just so much fun watching all that come together. It's kind of like a great big playground, where you get out there and play and to do your thing, So. If you're you get your stump speeches for the community here, what do you want to tell this community? What do you want to inspire them to do at this point in time? This is your chance to preach now.
Yeah, well, here we go. I would say that Joplin is an amazing community, and it's an amazing community filled with love, welcome, and strength. And we have all experienced that, especially as transplants. And everybody in Joplin belongs. Everybody who's here belongs. So let's learn how to treat one another a little bit better and continue to learn from each other. And I think we will find that for our children, the experiences that they have will ensure that they are what we all desire as parents, and hopefully good community members are even further along than where we are. And we have that opportunity here.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of an ideological dream that in Joplin, things that are maybe disrespectful or maybe prejudicial or racist or sexist or something like that, that Joplin would be so different that it would almost be like someone littering. Like if someone drops something and you look at them and you think, you must not be from here. Mm-hmm. That we would be a community that respects one another so much that if someone mistreated my friend Shonte, everybody around them would look at that person and say, they must not be from Joplin, because that's not how we treat each other.
You know, amen, brother, all I can tell you is I can give you an amen to that, okay? I can certainly give you an amen to that. So my guests this morning, Sergio Rizo and Shonte Clay-Fulgham, both from the Joplin Chamber of Commerce, Diversity and Inclusivity Committee. Thank you for your work and the positive direction you're giving us. We're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute.
The whole purpose of screening is to catch people who have a significant smoking history early enough where we can do something about it and potentially improve the duration of life. The minimum recommendation for screening is 30-pack years. So usually people who've smoked more than 30-pack years are the ones that we're screening. If we start screening yearly with low-dose CT scans, we can reduce the risk of death from lung cancer by 20 to 25%. Stage 1, 2, and 3 cancers potentially can be cured. When it becomes stage 4, the possibility of cure falls significantly.
Well, again, you honor us every week when you join us here for Faith in Our Hometown. We have a conversation here each week as people of faith about things that matter to us, because we live here in this, our hometown. And I mean that for the larger area as well. Carthage, Carl Junction, Webb City, Parsons, all of it. We're this large little group around this big small town that we call Joplin. It is a pleasure to live here. And I think sometimes we don't step back and treasure it for what it is. But I have to say, I loved Sergio's words earlier when he was talking about the fact that could we become this community? Could we dream about being that community that treats each other so well that when somebody doesn't do it, we could actually look at each other and go, oh, you must not be from here. You just don't get it. You don't understand. You don't understand how good this is. But we get there by taking steps and being intentional with one another. And so kudos to the Chamber, kudos to the Young Professionals Network, kudos to the Inclusivity and Diversity Committee, kudos to the City Council. We've taken some steps forward in trying to proclaim who we want to be. Well, join us next Sunday for Faith in Our Hometown. God bless and happy Sunday, everybody.
Thanks for watching. Faith in Our Hometown can be seen Sunday mornings at 6:30 and 9 a.m. on KSN. Brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.